Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's All You Can Geek bonus round. Spoilercast for Falcon and Winter Soldier, Season 1, or series. I don't even know. But I'm one of the hosts, Jim Gass, joined by Mike Sneedy.
What's up?
Corey Feinsod.
Heyo.
And Tony Korkanakis.
It's Captain Falcon. They said it.
It's Captain Falcon.
They said it in this episode. It made me giggle.
This is a spoilercast for those obviously tuning in. So if you haven't seen the ending of or any of the show of Falcon Winter Soldier, just be warned that there will be spoilers talked about here. We've talked about this show quite a bit during the podcast, and we thought we'd just give this a little bit of a run through actually of what this was. So we watched the final episode, guys, and just kind of continuing on from our conversations last week. Pretty good finale. I got to say, love the costume. Love the costume.
Costume looks awesome.
You know, I thought he looked like it looked too bulky on him. I don't know.
It was straight out of the comic, so.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the neck thing. It made him look a little uncomfortable to me, but it's fine, I guess.
I think it looked great in it. That is really a badass costume. I think it looked awesome. Kind of tied in the older Captain America costume, and and the Falcon costume. So I thought that was a cool little mix, and yeah, it was good. I mean, this show is I don't know. It's not really much for spoilers. I don't think. Honestly, if I feel like in this show, I always start with negatives. I feel like this show, if you don't watch the show, you'll be fine knowing that he's Captain America because you already know that from the Endgame. So I don't think it's a nice little companion for those who want to get more, but it's not a necessary watch. That's what I'm thinking.
I guess, but you can say that about a lot of things though with Marvel, but if you don't need to, everything is its own thing. I don't know. It doesn't need to be part of a bigger thing to matter.
It's just one of those things. I mean, they do that in comics all the time, where it's like, hey, this character's suddenly somebody else or some new title and stuff like that. And it's like when they show up in a group-based comic, it's like you're just expected to know this and roll with it and be cool with it. And it's like, oh look, you have to be like Origin or the number 0 issue or something stupid like that, where it's like, oh, this is how that character got the mantle or the title or the thingamajig or the MacGuffin, whatever,
Yeah. I mean, it's like if you read Star Wars stuff and you read a comic book that's about the side character, they usually do a nod in the movies for that, but it's not necessary information. It just adds to the story if you know it. That kind of thing is what I feel like this is.
Right, because I mean the thing is at the end of Endgame, it's Steve passing the shield and the mantle, I guess, metaphorically, to Falcon. And there's some hesitance, but there's not an absolute rejection of it. So if you didn't watch this, you could just skip to the next Avengers or the rumored, which we'll get to in the movie cast, the Captain America 4.
Yeah. So, guys, last episode, though, again, I didn't like the villain this whole show, what turned out to be the main villain. I didn't think they were that strong. I think a Baron Zemo villain would have been good at the end. But overall, I thought the action was excellent. I loved that. I actually loved U.S. Agent more in the end. I really liked his turmoil and his character. I really think he's got a pretty good future.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was definitely surprised by his characters. I guess. I thought there was gonna be I thought they were gonna do something different with him, but
I didn't quite understand what was going on throughout most of this episode. There was multiple helicopters, and I was confused which one were the ones you wanted to crash and which one
there was
you didn't want to
two
crash.
Helicopters. One of them was an unmarked one, and one was a news helicopter.
It was just confusing to me. And I guess everyone's cool with Walker now, just because he grabbed a Brinks truck of senators who you're not supposed to
redemption.
like anyway.
I mean, he killed a terrorist, and in the heat of the moment when his friend got killed. Obviously, it's not something you want to see a superhero do, but it's something you can come back from. I'm not saying he's going to, but I think he's kind of the teetering character always. I think he's going to be.
Right. Well, the whole thing is, the same senators that just condemned him, he helped save their lives. So it's not going to be they're like, hey, we told you not to do this, so, get in jail or whatever like that. But to go back just a minute ago, I agree with Corey. And Corey and I talked over the weekend, and we'll get to in the movie cast why. But I was seriously expecting like this whole conflict over Carly. And Jim, to your overall point, I do agree that the main villain, Carly and the Flag Smashers, were definitely the weakest aspect of the show. But in my head, going into this episode, I was like, oh, clearly the thing is going to be, Falcon or Captain America versus Carly versus Walker, and it was going to be a battle of Falcon trying to take her in versus Walker trying to take her out. And in my head, that was what it's going to be. It's going to be like this three-way battle and stuff like that. That's what I had in my head. Obviously, they went a different direction, which, whatever. But in my head, like, I think that would have probably played out a bit more interesting in my mind, because like it totally did feel a little weird in this, and this just because it's like he forges his own shield, and I mean, whatever. It's comics. I don't really think about this kind of stuff too much, but it's like, oh, so blacksmithing or whatever, and it's like you spent all this time just making a shield. You can fucking paint it professionally. Like, okay, whatever, I buy that. It's comics again.
Who?
Looks badass, man.
Walker? You're talking about?
Yeah, Walker. Yeah,
I assumed that Elaine Bennis provided him with all his extra bullshit.
No, the end of episode 5, during the post
credits. You see him build like blacksmithing it. Yeah.
Oh, was there another post credits?
Yeah.
In the season before, there was 2 post credit scenes in the episode prior to this one. Yeah.
I didn't watch that.
Yeah. I mean, this doesn't really matter, but it's just funny because it's like he shows up, gets trounced. The shield can't take a beating at all. I'm just like, dude, like, what was the point? And stuff like that. Anyway, I do kind of like that he did have the conflict though of whether to seek the vengeance or do the right thing or whatever like that. And I think it does add complexity to his character as U.S. agent. And the thing that I want to highlight is, I think from the previous episode when he was talking back to the senator, is that how he is what they made him to be, what they wanted him to be, but as soon as he does something that they can't publicly defend, then it's like they throw him away like trash and stuff like that. And I think it's a good analogy to how it is today. I mean, without getting too political, but like anybody in the U.S. military, they're trained to do terrible things. They're asked to do these terrible things. And then once we're done with them, they come back and like, they don't have the best support, whereas, in Steve Rogers' day, World War II, it was like, hoorah, the troops are coming home. And we've all seen the pictures in the history books and the parades in New York City and, elsewhere and stuff like that. They don't have that these days. They don't have that kind of stuff. You never see like welcome home to the troops or anything like that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying it's a different thing. And he's totally right in that, like, the Captain America of 1940s and stuff like that is way different than the Captain America of 2020s and stuff like that. Whether that's good or bad, right versus wrong, whatever. I just think it's the reality of it, and I think him as U.S. agent will be a bit more conflicted, and he'll have those same decisions to be making as a character if we continue to see him going forward. So
yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
it seems like they set up like, I mean, Captain America, like we're saying, like he has an image to portray publicly that he can never waver on, whereas like this U.S. agent, he's the guy that's gonna go behind the scenes and do the things that need to be done for whatever.
Yeah, he's like the Winter Soldier equivalent, really.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
But I just I agreed completely with the villains. Like, I thought it was very interesting in the beginning. It's like, all right, we got this minor group that's gonna play a small role in this whole thing, and then it turns out they're going to be the main villains throughout the entire thing, and then the looming threat behind all this happens to be like, you see a mile away, like you see it coming, like in episode 3. I'm like, okay,
it was
like,
we were talking about it on the podcast, so
and so it's like I just was expecting something a little bit more surprising, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine that they do this and all that, but it's like, it definitely seemed like they needed to adjust some of the storylines a little bit. And because like, even with the ending of the Flag Smashers and how the friends, go out, it's just like, oh, okay, we're just gonna like take care of everybody right now. So it was weird. No super soldiers except for now U.S. agent, I suppose, and Winter Soldier, Bucky, or not Winter Soldier, but
that we know of.
Yeah,
I mean, this.
Yeah, I don't know.
So.
Again, like the flag smashers that were sort of weird to me, and I was I was trying to remember who exactly they were fighting for, so they don't want the people who have moved into other people's houses or homes during the 5-year period to be forced to leave for the people who are back. But then where are the people who are back right now?
I don't know. Like
it was
Israel conflict.
I don't know. No,
Jerusalem conflict or something like that, right? Isn't that the whole parody? That the parody. You know what I mean? Like the similarities. It just reminds me of that. Like the people that have up and left have come back. They want their homes back, but they can't have it because somebody else is living there. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It was strange. I also think it's funny how the one senator acted as like the president of the world. But, so the flag smashers were boring. I didn't really understand by the end of this, after everything, the whole idea about how Carly was supposed to be so sympathetic. I was just like, yeah, kill her, get her out of here. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, she seemed. It was hard for her character development. I feel because they kind of were going in a direction.
There was none. There was
U-turn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I feel like
it's just out of the blue.
Her development just
you're gonna kill people.
Increasingly more extreme. And
right. It seemed like there were these storylines with the other characters that never went anywhere either. Like they kind of had doubt in her at some point.
Yeah, everyone else was like, okay.
Yeah, like she said something, everybody's like awkward. It's like she's like, one world, and like they just stand or something. She's like, one world. I'm like, one people. I was like, all right, it's awkward. I've been there before and stuff like in like team meetings and stuff like that. It's like, okay. But the thing is, like, we talked about this over the years with like the various Netflix Marvel shows and stuff like that. How about how 13 episodes, 50 minutes each. They start to run a little long, and you're just like, we probably could have shaved an episode or two down. Whereas with this series, I feel like it was the opposite. I feel like if we had one or two more episodes to give the Carly and or the Flag Smashers a bit more nuance to it, because like the thing is, like, I could totally see.
They just didn't focus on them at all enough to give us anything for a villain.
Like I totally get their plight, because I mean the thing is, if you think about it just on paper, it's like, okay, so half the world just disappeared from the snap. I mean, I can't even imagine how much that would devastate like the U.S. economy. I mean, we've seen in the past year just how one ship in the fucking canal just brought a screeching halt to the goddamn supply chain worldwide, basically. So to be like, hey, all you people that didn't have jobs, didn't have homes, come to our countries. We'll give you jobs, we'll give you food, shelter, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden people come back and like, hey, get the fuck out of here, make room, like that's that guy's house or something like that. I can understand that from a moral standpoint. I can totally understand that. And they started off with it, but they never went anywhere, and they didn't show it like really that well after the first two episodes about how that affects the common people. It was just kind of like, oh, they're fighting for that. And like as Mike's saying, they just became more and more extreme as they went on. Like there's that one episode where they tied those people up, and then they like started to leave, and then suddenly like they blew the building up, and even her one friend was like, what the fuck? And she's like, well, they were hoarding it all anyway. They had no plans of using it, so whatever. And it's just like, okay, so like you're not really getting sympathy points from me if you're just like blowing things up and becoming literally at that point you're just a terrorist. You're not even like
becoming a terrorist,
a rebellious group or faction or anything like that. They really needed to tone that down, or at least wait a bit more. Maybe like as they were getting desperate, I could see that and stuff like that. But whatever happened, it's a nothing really in the end. And I was kind of like, maybe there's something to go with this afterwards when they're loading the remaining survivors up into that truck, and then like the one FBI or whatever the fuck it was, SWAT or whatever, is like, one world, one people. I was like, oh, god damn it, they're gonna get away. And then all of a sudden it just blows up. I was like, did not see that coming. I did not see that. Like, fair.
Are we supposed to have any ideas or know who that old guy is?
It's Baron Zemo's guy. Yeah.
Who was
it earlier?
Baron Zemo's butler.
Baron Zemo's
servant.
Oh, okay.
He was in it earlier.
That's why I cut the Zemo directly after that, where he's just like, paging through his book. It's like, one last trope from Zemo and stuff like that.
I thought it was cool he did that. It makes him kind of relevant from the cell, from Wakanda.
See, the thing with Zemo, the thing that I found interesting with him is I you always expect him to like be a hypocrite eventually and be like, I want power. But no, he always consistently was just like, no more super soldiers of any type.
Be consistent.
And that's what I liked about him, though. That's what I like about him, because any other villain in this goddamn universe or any other comic book movie, when he had that chance in episode 3 or 4, where he had that one serum, would have 100% without a doubt taken it. And instead he just like starts destroying them. I was like, good on you, Zemo. You have your principles, you have your morality, even though it's like chaotic evil, I guess, where it's like sometimes he does, most of the time he's doing bad stuff, but it's like, hey, there's 1 or 2 times, he's doing stuff for the greater good. So I get it. But yeah, I loved his character. If we're talking about the series overall, I did like Falcon growing into the Captain America role personally, just because, the whole thing about not feeling like he could live up to Steve Rogers' standards or fill in those shoes. But with Isaiah and meeting him, those 2 times, it gave him that purpose, that meaning that's like, you're right, I don't have to be Steve Rogers. I can be my own person and stand for my own things and give people their own thing to believe in as the Captain America title. So I personally really like that, and I hope they obviously continue using him in that role, and excited to see where that goes.
Did he have them make that statue, or was that hidden somewhere the whole time? I'm assuming he had to make that statue for Isaiah.
Yeah, no, he righted everything in this show. Sharon and
Isaiah. Okay, we got to talk about her though. Is she a villain now?
Yeah.
It feels like it, but that's to me the most uncomfortable thing about the series personally, just because I feel like going through what the few movies that Sharon Carter has been in, and especially being Peggy's niece, it just feels really weird that she got the whole woman scorn kind of thing is like, fuck America, fuck the system, this, that, and the other thing. I'm I don't know. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I'm personally hoping that it's not actually her and it's just like a scroll or something like that. It probably won't be, but that's why, yeah.
I saw a theory online, actually, and I think that's not a bad theory to be for a scroll.
Do you think a scroll would be into just money, though? That seems weird.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I also thought,
it's power.
It was obvious and the least interesting choice to have her be the shadow broker to begin with.
The power broker.
Power, whatever.
Yeah.
Shadow broker, somebody else.
Yeah, someone else who, whatever. No, I don't know. One of my things was I kind of wish we had a little more of what was going on with Bucky. He sort of got pushed aside, pretty much. He had 1 episode.
I think he had pretty good. Stuff. I liked his arc quite a bit. No, I liked his arc quite a bit though. I think him as a solo character doesn't work. Just I think same thing with Sam, but I just feel like his redemption arc. I mean, him at the end here telling that guy, who he killed his son. That was the whole build up, and I think that was a huge thing for him this whole show. I really like. Right. I appreciated that moment.
Sure, yeah, but I just want to spend a little more time with him.
No, I definitely agree, and I feel like Sam, one of Sam's points when he was talking to Bucky at the end of the powwow community building thing, where he's like, "Hey, that wasn't really you making amends. That was you avenging," and it's he's totally right about that. He wasn't truly, doing the, right. He was just doing what he felt was, justice and stuff like that. So him going to the old guy and telling him about his son was absolutely a pivotal moment. And I kind of wish they had just given that scene a few more minutes, even 2 or 3. Just 'cause it felt so abrupt. It's he was killed while I was the Winter Soldier, and that's it. And I get you could do that, but I just wish they would have lingered on it and just delved into it a bit more. Personally, just because.
I mean, a slower build up to reveal. Yeah, I think that would have been
he's just a little
and a little bit of it's okay. So was that the end of the conversation? Did you just walk out, or what happened?
It's he sees the next day or whatever. He sees him eating at the restaurant, and the girl that he totally just blew off right from himself. But it's okay. So are they cool now? Like, does the guy have like a sense of peace now? Like, I guess we're supposed to infer that because he seemed happy still and whatnot. But I just wish they'd given that a bit more, because like the thing to me is like Bucky is like one of my favorite characters in the MCU, just because, you know, especially now, because like he doesn't have Steve Rogers. Like, he's truly the last, you know, man displaced out of time. And he's so fucked up from that whole, you know, Winter Soldier, like, you know, Hydra programming thing. Like, that really is, to me, like a fascinating thing for a character to go through, because, you know, from him saying, like, I remember everything, and trying to make up for that is huge. And the one thing I really did like about the finale was just that conversation between him and Zemo at wherever it was, where he was, like, pointing the gun at him, and, you know, he decided not to kill him and just turn him over to the
Wakandans, yeah.
Wakandans. I forget the military group's name, but and, you know, I thought it was a good step for him, because, you know, the Bucky of like pre this series probably just would have killed Zemo and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, I think he had a pretty good amount of growth for the limited amount of time he had on screen. I understand what Mike said. You want to see more, because he's a very interesting character. And he's made, like, how many movies has he made, like, being that companion? Like, Winter Soldier was amazing because of him. Like, I feel like that movie was elevated just because of that. Mm-hmm. And I think even in Civil War, I think he had a great role in that. So I was like, you know, I felt like, I don't know, he's a good companion like that. I mean, that's really his character. I think it's a great addition to the story. So I don't see him ever getting that center role.
Yeah, and it's
no, he does. There's a lone wolf vibe to him though, a little bit too. I wouldn't be like, I see him more as, like, you know, someone who would try to be alone and reluctantly, like, get people with him.
People with him, like like sort of like a Batman thing, where it's like,
a
little fate that comes along. It's like
a little bit of Angel, you know.
Yeah.
A little bit of a past life where he was an awful
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Trying to Wolverine vibes. Yep.
And the one interesting thing I really wanted to mention too was I saw this interesting comparison tweet online about how, leading up to the finale, if you compare Falcon's viewpoint, actually, ironically, on Bucky in Winter Soldier, how he's like, hey, you know, what if, like, when Captain America's like, when Steve is like, I have to rescue him, I have to save him, Falcon's telling him, like, hey, I don't think he's the kind of guy you save. He's the kind of guy you stop, right? That was his viewpoint on Bucky. But then in this series, you know, he was really trying to save what's her name? Carly?
Yeah,
Carly, and stuff like that. So I just thought that was kind of like an interesting nuance to Falcon's character too, and like how he grew, you know, because back in the day he probably would have been like, yeah, let's fucking kill Carly. Like, let's do it. Let's just fucking strangle this teenage bitch.
Yeah, I think that.
I wonder how she became the leader of that group.
I don't know. First Super Soldier, I don't know. But
personality, man. I guess I don't. Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things where, just like, again, not very interesting villains for the series, and you have these characters that are super cool, like Winter Soldier, like such a badass character. Obviously, he's reformed a little bit, you know, trying to gain forgiveness and become a better person, obviously, back to what he was. And, you know, Sam struggling with being Captain America, or stepping into that role at least. But yeah, the villain just did not meet expectations at all. And it really brought it down for me as far as what we got from, like, with WandaVision. I felt that was a much more interesting story because of everything going on there, and the ramifications it has on the universe. Where here, it's like, all right, we're setting up maybe a Cap 4.
That's why I'm saying, like, that's why, being in this podcast, I was mentioning that, like, if you skip this and just watch Cap 4, I think you'll be perfectly fine. But I do feel like WandaVision is a really good watch for Doctor Strange, because it really develops Scarlet Witch. You know? Yes. I mean, it really does.
I mean,
so
that's a Scarlet Witch, like, origin, even though she's been around for a while. Like,
well, this is a Sam Captain America origin now.
Yeah, I know,
but
I feel like
to see that, because you didn't see him as broken as, you know, Wanda was in the other movies.
WandaVision was more about, you know, more essential to her character, I would say, than this is to Captain Falcon or whatever we want to call him right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it, right? We covered everything. We're all good. Anything else to add, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for more of these television shows, like a couple of new characters. I mean, I'm excited for like even the new ones, like Hawkeye and She-Hulk and Miss Marvel. Like, I want to see some of these newer characters on screen as well.
Yeah. This one was okay. I'm gonna lower my expectations a little bit from how they were the beginning of WandaVision to like the end, and then this one.
Yeah,
it's okay. Yeah. It's not.
I'd probably give it like a, I don't know, 6.5, 7 overall. Like I still enjoyed it.
7.7. I said 7.75 is where I was.
Some
I'm in like the sixes too.
Some of the highs I think were really good, but some of the lows are kind of low. And I definitely, I'm not excusing it, but I think the COVID obviously between like the actual storyline, kind of being like, hey, you probably should not include this.
I'm curious too, because this was supposed to be the first one as well.
Right, exactly. So it being the second one, so the combination of it actually having like somewhat topical controversy plus the actual production development delay of the show, I think really hurt it more so than it, did WandaVision or even Loki and stuff like that. So it's unfortunate. That's the world though. So I'm hoping the next series will just be better, continue improving. Just kind of like you look at Marvel Phase 1, and at the time we're like, yeah, these are good, and it's like, in my opinion, it just got better from there. So I hope we have that scene.
See, my problem is I can't help but compare these to Marvel Netflix, and I think at least the early seasons of all that, except for Iron Fist, were better than these by a bit, but whatever.
Yep. I don't know. Like I said, this was an okay series. Not something that is a must-watch, but it's a good like addition story for these characters. But it's like almost like. Whoops! Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
I knew it was gonna activate it. I knew it was gonna activate it.
I mean, if you were a big Falcon or Anthony Mackie fan, you want to see him get his due. Like this is it.
Yeah. So, all right. I think it's going to wrap up this Spoilercast bonus round edition. Thanks for tuning in. You can write us allyoucangeek@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe and the like button. Check out the movie cast coming up and the game cast. We'll see you guys soon.